Hey everybody, last night for Halloween I saw Venom the Last Dance. I know it's not a very Halloween type movie, but hope you all had a great Halloween yesterday. I sure did. So, yeah, this is my review of Venom the Last Dance. So, the plot of this movie is that Venom and Eddie are still bonded together, but they're fugitives on the run because a bunch of scientists want to obtain Venom and study it, and Venom doesn't want to leave Eddie, so they both go on a big chase all throughout America, and they realize that Venom has this thing inside him called the Codex, which is a tracking system that's overseen by Null, who's the ancient god that created the symbiotes. So so they so there's a whole thing where Venom is trying so hard not to overtake Eddie to showcase the Codex everywhere, while Eddie tries to keep Venom safe from the scientists, and hopefully they could stay together, bonded as friends. Yeah, this was pretty good. Yeah, for the final Venom movie, I think they could have done more, but I think they did quite good with everything that was given with them. For starters, I think I love the interactions with Venom and Eddie are still great as always. Like it's kind of like Let There Be Carnage, where there's a more humorous tone because Eddie is so used to having this alien parasite attached to him, and that's good. Like I don't mind the idea of it being a bit more humorous because like I said, the idea of us of an alien parasite being attached to A and all his friends acting like it's normal. That is an inherently funny idea in of itself, and they have a lot of funny interactions with each other, and like they go to Vegas, and Venom's like really wanting some money. Like that's pretty funny, and Venom, tries to get these strangers like to help them because they actually go across this family in the Nevada desert at one point, and Venom does kind of form a little friendship with this kid, and yeah, it's funny. There's a lot of funny, silly ideas in there. It's very much like a modern day B movie, and that's what I think really makes the Venom movies work. I know lots of people say, but they don't have Spider-Man in them and they suck. Venom doesn't need Spider-Man to work. Read the Donny Cates Venom series. Like he can work just fine on his own. And the idea that Venom's an alien, it almost creates an idea that really can work without another character intervening. And plus, that's really what makes them different. They don't just feel like rehashes of Spider-Man movies. I like that the Venom movies are different and they're about the actual character and it's more alien sci-fi type focus. So it makes it different from a Spider-Man movie. It doesn't just feel like a generic superhero movie. And yeah, I know this. None of the Venom movies are particularly great, but I think they're fun. Let There Be Carnage did have a lot of pacing issues, but and structural issues, but I think this movie does improve on it because I think it really works as a finale because it showcases that Venom and Eddie are friends and they really do care about each other despite it being a very quirky relationship. And you do see a lot of other symbiotes in the movie, like they do go to the Area 51 facility because that's always myth about how they keep aliens in there, and you see a lot of cool types of symbiotes that take over people, and they of course do the sliming instead of webbing because maybe it's a rights issue with Spider-Man. Like none of the Venom movies show Venom doing any of the webbing. So they do kind of get creative with it by having like shoot out kind of like slime webs. It doesn't really look like textural webs, like it just looks like slime, and like it's neat. I think they do really get creative with what they're allowed to use. So I think that does kind of make the Venom movies really unique because I think sometimes, while I do think creative freedom is definitely helpful with a lot of movies, I think restrictions can actually help, which is an unpopular opinion because I think restrictions and having very little to do allows you to get more creative with your ideas. And this movie does get creative with its ideas of what Venom can do and what happens with him as a character that doesn't influence Spider-Man. And yeah, as a final installment, I admit it could have been better because I think story-wise, like of course the whole thing of like Venom being on the run, like yeah, like that could be a fun movie, but yeah, as a final installment, I don't know if that's really the best story. I think it could have been something bigger and much more epic because the Venom movies, like it's just a normal guy walking around and a aliens attach him here. It's not. I'm not saying I want the movie to have like a $300 million budget, but I think like Deadpool and Wolverine, I think it could have had like each movie feel bigger and bigger as it went along. And heck, they the fact that they at least they actually acknowledge No, who yeah, he's not really in the film. You don't really see him, and like I think it would have been cool to see Null's planet, and I think it would have been cool to showcase more of the alien stuff and the intergalactic space type material. But you don't really get that, which I mean, it's fine, I guess. But I kind of wish that they went really bigger, given that this is the last Venom movies. But I don't know, maybe if it was budget issues or maybe they didn't have the rights to a lot of material or whatever, but overall, it's a fun film. It's funny, it has some cool action, and it's very B-movie esque like the other Venom movies, which is why I think they're a lot of fun, even if Let There Be Carnage wasn't super great. But I think I think that's what really makes them different from others. They're not just typical Guardians of the Galaxy action comedy style superhero movies like we've been getting for the past like decade, or it doesn't feel like a Spider-Man movie. These movies want to be their own thing, and while they're not perfect, they're not great, but I still think they're a lot of fun. And given this is the final movie for final installment, it could have been worse. I had a really fun time with it, and if you like Venom as a character, you might be a bit underwhelmed given that, this is the final installment and they don't really embrace a lot of the, bigger aspects of Venom and even the further worlds. But if you can get past that and you just want to see a chase film with a lot of fun alien style action, it's a fun film for what it is. It's not great, but hey, it's better than like half the superhero movies I saw last year. And I did like this more than Madam Web, even though I didn't think Madam Web was as bad as people said it was. It wasn't great, but it was nowhere terrible. But it's overall a fun film, and if you like Venom as a character, I think you'll get a kick out of it. The trailers I got before the movie, I got Mickey 17. I'm curious. It is directed by Bong Joon-ho, who directed Parasite, and I did quite like Parasite. And the idea of this is kind of interesting. Like, it's a guy who, like, I think it's like he dies or something, and like when he always gets reincarnated. Robert Pattinson's the main lead, and it looks surreal, but I'm curious about it. I think I'll give this one a shot. I think it'll be a fun, quirky little sci-fi film. So yeah, I guess we'll see. There was Love Hurts, which is this film with Ki Hugh Kwan, who's now an Oscar winner. Uh, I might see this. It looks pretty good. My dad's kind of interested in seeing it. I don't know if it's a film like I'm particularly anticipating, or I don't know if I'll see it in theaters. But I think Ki Hugh Kwan, like after his performance in Everything Everywhere All at Once, I'm glad he's trying to get back into films again. So I think maybe this could be a good watch. I don't know if it'll be something I'd be super anticipating, but I think it looks interesting enough. One of Them Days, which I don't know, it doesn't really look particularly fun. Well, actually, there was like one joke near the end that made me laugh, but I don't remember what it was. I guess because most of the comedy seemed mediocre. Maybe I just forgot the one joke that I laughed at. It's a film with Kiki Palmer and Isa Rae, I think, is in this film, and it's like about these girls who like try to pay rent or something. It basically just looks like a female version of Friday. I mean, it doesn't look terrible, and I don't even know if it looks outright bad. It just, it doesn't look very amusing, so I don't really have any interest. And the last trailer was Craven the Hunter. Remember this movie was gonna be a thing? Yeah, it's crazy how much this movie was delayed after all the strikes. Yeah, Craven the Hunter, I'm interested. I think it definitely, kind of like what I say about the Venom movies, it looks different from a Spider-Man movie. It doesn't just look like a typical superhero film. Like, this is why the superhero genre is dying. This is why they're not doing very well, because most movies just want to be an MCU style film with a Guardians of the Galaxy tone, and they don't want to be their own things. Craven the Hunter, even if it's not great, at least it looks like it's trying to be its own thing. Like, it looks like a very, rough action movie, and it obviously this was a Green Man trailer. Obviously, there was no blood, but it looks like it might be interesting. I mean, I don't know about Aaron Taylor Johnson as Craven, but I mean, he kind of looks the part nowadays, but I don't know. It's still kind of a weird choice. But and also, Rhino's going to finally be in the film. And you know what? It's kind of a weird thing, Rhino being translated on film, because in The Amazing Spider-Man 2, you had Paul Giamatti, who was just a normal guy in a giant rhino-shaped mech suit. And this one, he just looks like a guy with a skin condition. But I guess in all fairness, I understand why they want to change Rhino for movies, because the idea of an experiment with with a costume with artificial rhino skin being just a guy, like showing a guy's face and he's just in a costume, like that would look a little silly. So I kind of get why Rhino hasn't really had a super accurate depiction on film as of yet. But Craven the Hunter, I'm sure it'll be a fun film. I'm sure it'll have a lot of good action, because of course this is going to be an R-rated film, so I think will have some good blood, and hopefully it doesn't overcompensate the writings, because hopefully it's not just gory to be gory and that's it. Hopefully the writing and the story still is pretty good, because you can't just add blood and expect it to be better. I mean, look at Peacemaker. It has blood, and it's almost just as bad as Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, and even though James Gunn thinks they're totally different, but whatever. But Craven the Hunter, I'm curious about it. I'll definitely want to see it. So yeah, Venom: The Last Dance. Surprisingly, I enjoyed it more than I thought I would, after how okay but still kind of disappointing Let There Be Carnage was. I still think that it's a really fun film overall. It's no Deadpool and Wolverine, like I said, but in terms of comic book movies of the 2020s, it's somewhere in the middle, maybe even near the top 10, so that's good enough for me. So I really had a fun time with it, so goodbye, everybody.